bit I wanted to show. Unfortunately, my internet is still not super great. Let me see if I can restart. Okay. This is an example I just wanted to show you about how you can actually dig deep from pretty much just random information. So as a background, we've gone into a car company website and pulled out some information about just car reviews to try and figure out what people are saying about particular car models. And this kind of information you can actually have access to through data providers, so it's not that what we've done is something which an ordinary person can't do. It's doable. Yeah. So these are just a bunch of reviews over the month of June 2013. As you can see, there are some dips in volume, then some chatter goes up, so on and so forth. And X% of them, the green ones, are positive, Y% of them are negative, some of them are kind of neutral, it doesn't matter. Fair enough. But if I'm a manager, I'll say, so what? How do I benefit from this information? How do I care? People are saying good things about the car. Okay, you'll benefit by now comparing it with competition, and we have a competition dashboard as well. You'll see this information side by side for competition. You'll say, so what, yeah? So maybe a lot more people are positive about me than about competition, so how do I care? Okay, what can I change? I'm not bothered about the green ones, I'm bothered about the red ones. So what should I change? And then you say, oh sorry, I have those 1,000 reviews which are all negative, you'll have to read through all of them. You say, no, that's not going to happen yet. Okay. So what you can actually do is actually go into what we've developed is a feature analysis dashboard. And this is information that actually coming from the engine. The engine is throwing up the information for you. So if you remember the earlier sentences I've given you, which is about, I love the screen of the phone, or I love apples but hate mangoes, or whatever else. So these words like apples and mangoes and screen and whatever else are actually being thrown up by the engine. And once these words are thrown up by the engine, what you can do is actually make a hierarchy out of them. That's all you need to do. And once you've made a hierarchy, you can actually sort of plot them next to each other. So why do you think people buy cars? They either buy cars because they like the looks, or they like the power that the car gives you, or they love the interiors and leather and this and that and whatever, or it's value for money. The price component is better compared to other cars in the category, etc. These are the kind of reasons, airbags and this and that. These are the reasons why people buy cars, typically. I mean, you can go deeper into all of them and sort of say, okay, when people talk about accessories or whatever else, maybe they talk about, your USB and sunroof and God knows whatever else. So there are some accessories we put. But all these words had come to us from the engine, and we sort of put them there. And what you're able to do is actually come up with a detailed level analysis. Hopefully this time it being slightly more actionable, assuming this internet allows the chart to load. But essentially what you'll see, and I'm sorry about the speed again, essentially what you'll see is the frequency and the positivity or negativity, etc. getting associated with each component of the car. So now, there we are. So again, now you can actually figure out, what are the top things that people are actually interested in when they buy a car. Okay, so maybe a lot more comments are coming to you, or not too many comments are coming to you about maybe I can't think of any, maybe exteriors or whatever. You look at the number of small doors versus big doors. But consistently, people keep talking about performance when they talk about me. Consistently, people keep talking about handling when they talk about me, so on and so forth. So these are important factors for a customer to figure out when they're trying to make a purchase decision. And we also say how the sentiments of these things have changed over time, right? So again, now this information tells you a lot about customer behavior. Now this information is something you can start using and saying, yeah, my customers actually come to me for performance, while my competitors' customers go to them because, well, it's more comfortable or whatever else, right? Now we can start trying to take managerial action based on that, because now from unstructured information you've got some insights, right? And this is not information which you had internally, but again we've prevented you from going and interviewing 2,000 people to get this information. You don't have to do a survey and spend a lot of that money. And by the way, even if you do a survey, I think people typically switch off after 4 questions anyway. So I'm not sure how good the data is. This is data where people have actually written on their own accord because they wanted to write about the car. So this is hopefully has a much higher accuracy level anyway to begin with. And now you've made it actionable. And you can actually see some of these sentences side by side. Every time I click on these, you can actually go deeper into that sentence or into that category and actually see the kind of sentences that people have written about. So they're vastly improved in the Chrysler, more fuel consumption is a problem, Chrysler leather seats are just great, etc., etc. So he's doing 5 things, he's talking about 3 things, he's talking about the interiors as a whole, he's talking about seats, he's talking about engine, etc. We'll get filed in all these separate categories with respective scores of +2, -2. So that's how you can actually take social media conversation, and the same applies to Twitter, etc. And take it from totally random stuff which you don't know what to do with, and try and structure it and start making business sense out of it. That's kind of broadly the demo, and I'm sure that's broadly the presentation as well. I don't want to take too much more time, except that there are a bunch of other uses for text analytics as well. I've taken the simplest use case, which is right out there. But progressive companies are doing a lot of stuff on various things, which are knowledge management, fraud analytics, etc. So I'll skip everything. I'm happy to take questions. So those are the ones coming on the side. Those are the ones that were actually, yes. So yes, you do. As a matter of fact, these are your scores here. You can actually sort by sentiment. So a score of -5 to -1 translates into negative. You can actually do a filter by that. You get only the negative ones. If you want to do a filter by the neutral ones, you do a filter by 0, etc. And not only are you able to do that at the entire review level, you're able to do that at each individual activity. So yes.
Sometimes they'll give, like for example, it would have been good if it would have worked in a different way. If that's the kind of a comment. So good is taken as positive, but it's actually could be a negative.
As opposed to, yeah. So the positiveness is actually getting attached to Mumbai, which makes sense because it's something which you wanted to.
Right.
Okay. But let's take another one. Give me another construct.
Something like good to have some car framework.
The car should have had better wheels,
better
right?
Wheels, something like that.
Now you're saying that looks like a negative sentence, right? Because you're kind of like, yeah, baaki sab theek hai, but the wheels aren't that great. Well, that's a red now. Right? You should have had better wheels. So I don't like your car as a result. So again, that's the difference, by the way. There are tools out there available which do sentiments. Okay, but as I said earlier, you do that list of words. So you'd have looked at the word better there and said, yeah, here's a positive sentence, and that's it, done. You will end up with pretty much junk accuracy.
Sometimes customer might have said something sarcastic. So how the sentiment
even the first. So sarcasm. So I have a point of view on sarcasm, and the point of view on sarcasm is simple. Sarcasm is something that we as people recognize because we infer some information that's not even there in the sentence, and we link it to something else and say, haha, this is a, So if you just look at the last line of a joke without looking at the rest of the joke, or without looking at the context of the joke, you won't even realize it's sarcasm. So if I were to tomorrow say, yeah, based on the speech now, Rahul Gandhi should have joined the AAP. It's a simple sentence. Unless I know that Rahul Gandhi is actually part of the Congress, and AAP is something he's been talking. How do then you need a bunch of context. Now teaching that bunch of context to the machine requires it to be very, very domain specific. So the answer is yes, you can do it, but you need to be very domain specific for you to get that level of accuracy. What I'm showing you right now is a general kind of thing.
One more question. Now, if you look at the query 2, it looks like a positive query.
Where?
The second query, this is my second 300. I like the new look of 300, the modern 300 is also.
No, but it's for. Yeah, see, it's been filed under interior. If you notice this, it's actually getting filed under interior. It'll get filed in a bunch of different categories as well, okay? Because there are a bunch of things talking about. But if you look at this, the interior is better now, but still not as refined as the competition. So it's negative for interior, okay? And while I'm showing you all this stuff, again, also to set expectations right, we've been comfortable with 50% accuracy till now. The better engines, and this is one of the better engines, it's Gartner nominated and everything, will get you an 80% accuracy or 85% accuracy out of the box. Okay? But 2 plus 2 is always equal to 4 in maths. In text, depending on the way you write it, you cannot expect 100% accuracy. But the way I talk about it is, a 60 or 60% accuracy translates into for every 3 sentences you get right, you get 2 wrong. Which is really bad, so On the other hand, if you start with 85% accuracy, then for every 4.5 sentences you get right, you get only 1 wrong. Now it's much more decisionable. As a matter of fact, we make managerial decisions on much less accurate correlations or much less accurate regressions. Okay? So you've reached that particular accuracy threshold the moment you've crossed, say, 75% accuracy, where we say 85 or whatever. But those are the kind of things that you need to get the engine to understand. And those are the kind of things that you'll never be able to do with purely statistical analysis unless you have a huge amount of natural language overlay on top of it. Just for those of us who don't know what the difference between the two is, if you take a simple sentence like Ram loves Shyam, or let's sort of change it because that's how it's, I love man, again. Words in both the sentences. Per statistical techniques, these 2 sentences are exactly the same because you're doing a word count. But from a natural language processing perspective, these 2 sentences are very different. Because in one case, you're talking about Ram loving something else, in the other case, you're talking about Sita loving something else. But from a pure statistical perspective, there are 2 sentences, each of them have exactly those 3 words. From stats perspective, they're exactly the same. And unfortunately, a lot of the tools that today get used to do some of these kind of analysis are purely stats-based tools. Yeah, we're done. We're just
simple. I run over the documents and then manually.
There are two techniques you use. Once you start off, what you do is you start in the beginning with a huge box and you actually start annotating it. And there's tons and tons of data you use. Yes, you measure it against a gold data set, which you already annotated. You keep doing that every time you do an assignment. And if you do that roughly for even 5% of the data, you know that for the balance 95% you're going to be at a result. So today, today I can run, say, a TripAdvisor review on this. And without even sort of looking at the results, I'll know that on average, if I feed in 3 reviews, they're going to be 85% accurate. If people are talking about rooms, if people are talking about smelly corridors, if people are talking about blah, 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 I'll pick it up. Okay, so I'll know all that information. If people are talking about that, I'll know I'll pick it up. If they're talking about, customer emails saying that guy was not responsive anymore, I'll pick it up.
Only 85, I'm only 70% confident about it.
We have it at the back end, we just don't show it in the front end.
Yeah.
But we do have it.
Okay, because that itself would be, you
That's
would
right.
know where to improve.
That's right. That's right. It depends on who the user is. If it's a user who's a business user, chances are he'll just say, I'm not bothered about all the niceties or whatever. Maybe mota answer. The engine's accurate only if you're more than 80% accurate, or only if you're more than 60% sure that you're accurate, etc. So you haven't really. But at the back end, and by the way, that's more relevant for statistical techniques as well. On NLP techniques, that's slightly less relevant, but we still have it at the back.